Okay, why did you want to tell the story? And you got really better for telling. That was a pretty bad story. Thanks for telling me. You're welcome. Even if not much happened, you weren't going to complain about knowing the story. Yeah, I mean, I don't need. What was I expecting? Like, I think that was a fine story. Like, he just told us what happened, which is more information than I had before. Shiloh's mouth twisted into with a scowl of disbelief, but he said nothing. Why'd you bring that up anyway? There was a slight shrug of Cove's shoulders.
Well...
I was thinking about it because of the sandcastle. It made me remember when I moved to here. Dad showed me the beach first before he went back to the car to unpack. He was really excited about it for some reason. Cove's brows furrowed a little more as he quietly raked his hands through the sand. I get it. You thought maybe Mr. Holden wasn't that excited about the beach and was instead hoping Cove might be. But the line of conversation had come to its end. Even Cove was done with it. Some other topic had popped into his head. Shiloh fidgeting uncomfortably in the sand had made Cove aware of his presence again. That's so sad. How is that written? It suddenly made Cove aware of his presence again. I feel so bad for Shiloh. He's trying so hard to be friends with Cove and it's just not happening. They looked at each other and you could only wonder what this might be about. Hey, Shiloh. Yeah? Look at him smile as soon as Cove gave him the time of day. His like face just lit up, and that is so adorable. Shiloh's like a really loyal puppy, and I love that Shiloh's our puppy. Why are you always turning so red, even when nothing is happening? Does Shiloh have a crush on Cove? Is that why Shiloh is like, I don't know. Clearly startled, he jerked back. Neither you or Shiloh had expected that to be how he got included in the conversation again. Or is Shiloh, like, having a crush on me? That's interesting. I don't know, I guess. Okay, it's kind of weird. Shiloh's eyes were wide with embarrassment, and his lips twitched, and he was blushing even harder than before. Maybe it wasn't only this. Perhaps it was simply the last straw, but it was a big deal to Shiloh. A huge deal. He didn't just look sad, he seemed almost panicked. You weren't sure if he was about to cry or run away or what, but you soon got an answer. Why do you wear glasses? Most kids don't wear glasses, and nobody is named Cove. Oh, Shiloh, could you be a little bit more subtle with that? That's kind of... Why do you wear glasses? Most kids don't wear glasses. I don't know if that's true. And nobody is named Cove. Oh, come on, Shiloh. All of a sudden, Shiloh's being so mean. Come on, Shiloh. You're normally such a sweet, nice boy. Why are you being so mean right now? Who asked you to come? It was probably just your dad bugging Vaughn's family some more because you don't have anyone else who'll ever play with you, which unfortunately I think is true. Shiloh, don't be mean, please. Come on, man. You're nicer than that. This feels really, really out of character for him, but I don't know. Maybe I didn't read Shiloh very well. Cove blinked. The tension on the beach was suddenly uncomfortable in a way you didn't know how to laugh off. It didn't seem like the kind of thing he would get upset about, though you hadn't ever known what kind of thing would bother Shiloh. Yeah, this is the first time I've ever seen Shiloh, like, angry or upset. What's the deal with this? I'm sorry. Me too. I was just wondering. Let's build another sandcastle. You tried to play on your own. Are we gonna build more? You nervously messed with the sand. Yeah, change the subject. Although normally I would be like, yo, what's going on here? Can we, like, talk more about this? But that's not an option. You tried to play on your own. Are we gonna build some more? Hey, let's build another sandcastle. The day is gonna be over soon. Vaughn, you're right. The sun is going down so fast. You all went back to making more sand buildings, but the whole mood had changed. Shiloh's cheeriness was clearly gone, and Cove looked as confused as ever about why the other boy had blown up. The air stayed uncomfortable the rest of the afternoon, right up to the moment that Shiloh's mom appeared at the beach to take him home. At least you tried to do something to resolve it, though, and it seemed like it helped. Even though Shiloh's smile when he said goodbye to Cove wavered, it stayed as bright as ever for you. Oh, we're still on Shiloh's good side, which is important to me. That had to count for something. But with Shiloh gone and the sun going down, you knew it was time for you and Cove to head to your own houses. The two of you trailed out of the park together towards the neighborhood. The walk home was quiet. You passed by familiar landmarks, shoes thumping against the sidewalk in near-perfect unison. Cove was clearly caught up in thinking about something. You asked Cove what he's thinking. No, I'm not gonna stay silent. We need to, get to the root of this issue, whatever is bothering him. Something was definitely up, so you chose to reach out to him and ask. Hey, Cove, is everything okay? You're making a funny face.
Oh.
I was just wondering. Cove fell silent again for a few more seconds, then sighed. Why'd Shiloh act like that when I said he was all red a lot? You were being rude to him, he's just being a baby, you shouldn't make fun of him. I don't know, it's just Shiloh. He gets embarrassed. You shrugged at Cove with no answer to give. So, I don't think he was making fun of him. I feel like that wasn't what it was. I think that Cove was being, I think the words he was saying wasn't because he was making fun of him. I think he was just being very direct and blunt. And Cove, we know, is very, very direct and blunt. But unfortunately, being direct and blunt can be, seen as rude. So, I'm gonna tell him. Because, I feel like, I don't know. I feel that you're not doing anyone any favors by not, having fearless communication and, being able to, if you notice something that could help them in the future, that could possibly help them in future, you should tell them. Now, you should do it in a way that is respectful. Don't tell it to them in a rude way, but be direct. Be direct and respectful, and that, I think, is one of the best things you could do for someone. So, you were being rude to him. No, I wasn't. Well, that's the thing about being rude, Cove, is that sometimes you don't think you're being rude, but it's, at the end of the day, normally, it's the people who are receiving it. Normally, it's the people who are receiving it that decides whether it's rude or not. That's not always the case. Sometimes people can also be, overly sensitive. But whether or not you should at least consider, if somebody is saying the thing you did is rude, you should at least consider it, and not immediately say, no, I wasn't being rude. At least consider it. And then after considering it, then you can decide for yourself if you still feel that it was rude. I feel like Cove immediately getting defensive. It's no, I wasn't, is a very natural reaction, especially for someone who's 8 years old. Let's be honest here. But he asked and I gave an answer, and if he doesn't accept my answer, then I can't do anything. I can't do anything about that. I'm trying. It looked like that to me, and it wasn't just saying that one thing. You're not very nice to Shiloh. Ooh, I'm wondering if me calling him on this means that he might try to be nicer to Shiloh. Because that would be, I really would like for him and Shiloh to be friends. I want Cove to have other friends besides me. I think that's the problem. I think that I would hate for him to grow up and have me be his only friend. Because he should have others. I'm not saying he needs to be Mr. Popular. And even, you can have too many friends. You just need to have a small group of good friends. And I feel like it would do Cole some good if he had if he expanded on the people that he hung out with and didn't just automatically default to me, regardless of whether I like him or not, and regardless of whether he likes me or not. It's always healthy to have a diverse, set of friends, and because it helps shape you to be who you are, to have different friends, different perspectives, and all that good stuff. You're not very nice to Shiloh. I didn't mean it like that. Shiloh is kind of weird to talk to. Well, do you think other people have felt the same way about you sometimes, Cove? And if that's the case, would you want people to, be making fun of you or being rude to you or judging you? It kind of goes both ways, man. See, That's kind of rude. I guess I can get it. Why he would do that. Sometimes I get really mad, too. Despite seemingly coming to a conclusion, Cove's mood was still sour. Hey, Vaughn, was Shiloh telling the truth? Huh? His gaze left yours as he dug the sole of his shoe to the ground. He looked oddly vulnerable for a second. Does my dad make you hang out with me? I know he talks to your moms about that a lot. He made me hang out with you the one time. But after that, no. An uncomfortable weight settled in your chest at the question. You liked spending time with Cove. You didn't even have to think hard about it. You knew you did. Yeah, I know that I like hanging out with Cove. But you couldn't help feeling guilty. Cove still didn't know what happened when you met Mr. Holden. Nobody's making me spend time with you. Your dad does do stuff so you'll hang out with my family. But Shiloh shouldn't have said that. You decide to tell him about how his dad offered you money. Nobody's making me spend time with you. I mean, nobody's making... See, the thing is, nobody's making me spend time with you now. But the first time, when I didn't even know who you were, you know, I was given money. So, you decide to tell him about how his dad offered you money. Your dad does stuff, so you'll hang out with my family, but Shiloh shouldn't have said that. I'm torn between loyalty to his dad and loyalty to me. It's like I can tell him about offering his money. This is it, because it's like fearless communication, but at the same time, unfortunately, you have to take in consideration who your audience is and whether your audience is ready, yet to have that fearless communication. And I don't think that right now Shiloh is in the psychological mindset to have the full truth. So would an 8-year-old necessarily be thinking about that? I don't know. If at 8 years old, would I have thought about that? I don't know. Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm torn. I can see as an 8-year-old just right out like spewing out the truth, because I can see myself again being very like obedient, and you know, part of being obedient is not lying, but at the same time I would be disobeying his dad if I said something. But at the same time, his dad is not my dad, but at the same time he is an adult, and the Asian culture says you always respect your adults, and for the most part you obey adults, especially if they're like especially if they're family or friends of the family. So this is like, I could go either way. Do I tell him the full truth, or I'm not going to say nobody's making me spend time with you. I feel like this is a very good like medium. This is a good compromise, and I'll just say your dad does do stuff, so you'll hang out with my family, but Shiloh shouldn't have said that. Yeah. Cove's shoulders relaxed. You hadn't even noticed that he had tensed up. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Okay, so I did tell him the truth, I just didn't give him the full details, because I don't think he needs to know the full details right in this moment. He's still very vulnerable, and I don't know if the full details will help him right now. Maybe it'll help him when we're in adolescence. Maybe it'll help him at the next step, or the next stage of our life. I think that's a more appropriate time to like tell him. Anyway, I didn't think you were pretending. I just wanted to make sure it was okay is all.
Thanks.
Thanks for telling me. You're welcome. Your throat tightened. It was hard to meet Cove's earnest gaze again. Keeping secrets was hard. You're welcome. By now, the two of you were on the sidewalk near your house. It was time to part ways. You said goodbye. You hug Cove goodbye. You nudge Cove's shoulder. I'm gonna give him a hug. I'm a hugger. You hugged Cove goodbye. You stepped forward and wrapped your arms around him tightly. You turned your head, resting your cheek on his shoulder. Cove stood there awkwardly with his hands at his sides. He wasn't much of a hugger. It's all right. Maybe my influence will make him more of a hugger in the next stage. But you didn't get the impression he was unhappy that you were. Bye, Cove. See you tomorrow. Yeah, bye, Vaughn. You pulled away, then jogged towards your house. When you looked back, you saw Cove making his way back home too. As if you felt your eyes on him, he turned around. He waved. You did too. You still felt a little unsure with what you were supposed to do about the deal Cove's dad had offered. You didn't want to say something bad or something you shouldn't. You had no idea how Cove would take it either. It would be terrible if it made him feel bad. What if he wouldn't want to play with you anymore? You might change your mind sometime. There was always tomorrow after all. But for now, it was definitely something that you'd keep to yourself. I mean, I did tell him part of it. I didn't lie. I was like, yeah, your dad does stuff. So I'll tell him more later, I guess. With a final look, you went inside your house. That was interesting. It was an interesting moment. So between Grown Up, Long Day, and Runaway, these three are the ones that I'm least interested in. And so Fireflies is moderate, so I'll go with Fireflies. All right, tonight we're going to catch fireflies. At this blunt declaration from your sister, you looked up from your macaroni and cheese dinner. Fireflies were a familiar sight over summer, coming out on warm nights to dance through the sky. Tonight was particularly balmy. You knew there were bound to be a ton of them around. Oh, you are you? Yeah, you started eating faster. You looked over at your mom's. You pushed your food around your plate. I'm gonna eat faster because I do want to catch fireflies, but I also want to finish my food because I am a foodie. A grin curved your lips as you started to eat a bit faster, excited for what was to come. It seemed like you were too excited, however, as you started to choke and cough on your food from shoveling it down so quickly. Yep, that's totally me as well. Totally me. Even now, I tend to eat too fast and choke. It happens a lot when I eat rice. For some reason. Rice has always been a horrible choking hazard for me, even now, today. I have to be really careful. And I'm Asian, so that's dangerous that I easily choke on rice. Mommy reached over to pat you on the back, firmly helping you dislodge the noodles and enable you to breathe again. Which is, again, what my mom always did too. She was always a big... I choked a lot even when I was a kid, apparently. You took a big gulp of water from your glass, giving your mom a sheepish look. Oops. That's a good idea. Oh, that's a good idea, Lizzie. Can we, Mrs. Angel? Oh, good. Shiloh's here, too. Shiloh tapped his fork against the table excitedly, his face lighting up as he looked at Lizzie. It was unusual for Shiloh to still be here. Like always, his mom had to bring him over really early in the morning before her job started. But normally she would have picked him up by now. She called before dinner to let your moms know she'd be late. You didn't hear why. Probably more work things. You thought maybe getting to hang out with Shiloh for longer is what made Lizzie want to keep running around outside. Staying at home and watching TV was never an option for her with guests over. That's why you're pretty sure she'd get your moms to agree. Wow. It's already so dark out there. Lizzie gave Mom the best puppy dog eyes she could, slowly spooning mac and cheese into her mouth while you waited there for their response.
There.
Let them go. Nights like this don't happen every day. Your parents exchanged a look, then Mom eventually sighed and nodded back. Yes! Along with Lizzie's cheers, you threw your arms up in triumph, but waited until you finished chewing to say anything, because you knew it was rude to take your mouthful. So the really strange thing is when I first saw, and this again shows that you can't tell a book by its cover. When I first saw the two moms, my gut reaction was that this mom was the more strict mom and this mom was the more chill mom, but it's the opposite. And I think the reason why I felt like this one was the chill mom and this one was the strict mom is because, as I said before, this mom looks a lot like my own mom. And my own mom is definitely not as strict as my dad is, but she can be in select times, which is kind of strange because quite often when my mom is really strict, my dad is more lax. But by default, my dad more consistently is strict on more things. But when my mom gets strict on something, sometimes it can even be more intense, like strictness, mostly because she's very good at, I don't want to say weaponizing emotions, because that seems really, I think that's a little bit too, that exaggerates it too much. It's not like she's weaponizing emotions, but she can be very manipulative emotionally when she's angry at you and scolding you. A lot of Catholic guilt as well, because we're Catholic, so that's another thing. So that's why between these two, my immediate reaction was she was chiller, because this one reminds me more of my mom, and my mom can definitely be very strict at times. So that's why I thought it was really interesting. Along with Lizzie's cheers, you threw your arms up in triumph, but waited until you'd finished chewing to say anything because you knew it was rude to talk with your mouth full.
Fine.
Fine. Just make sure you stay on the hill behind our house with all the poppies, okay? Duh, Mom. That's where most of them are. The idea had only just been planted in your head, but already you could just picture all the glowing lights spread out in front of you, like the fairies from the bedtime stories Mommy read sometimes. All too quickly it became a race to see who could finish their food first. No choking at the dinner table now. That's right, if someone died, we'd have to cancel the Firefly trip after all. Mom said it like a joke, but you knew that they were both telling you kids to slow the F down. Shiloh did immediately. When you glanced at Lizzie, you saw her still eating faster than she should. Elizabeth?
Jeez.
No one is gonna die. Sheesh, I don't know. I was choking to death almost just a moment ago. A knock on the door interrupted Mom before she could, no doubt, scold her sister. I'll get it! Saved by the knock. Your big sister jumped out of her seat and ran over to the door, pulling it open without even looking out the window to see who it was.
Huh?
It's probably Cove. Huh? You shifted in your seat to try and get a glimpse of the unexpected guest. Oh, what a surprise! It's Cove again! What a surprise! Good evening, Cove. Your mommy had already walked by the door by the time you managed to see past Shiloh's flappy hat. Oh, Cove, hi! You're here! Cove smiled at your enthusiastic greeting and hoped the mommy would ask him to stay. It didn't matter why he was there. It meant he could join you all in catching fireflies. Then for a few seconds, Cove said nothing. He only stood there and looked up at your mommy with a face almost like he was considering turning around and leaving. My dad told me to drop this off because I guess he borrowed it from you? Cove took a familiar screwdriver from out of his large side pocket. Eyes now dropped to the floor. We left ours back home when we moved. Great, thanks. Bye. Thank you. Here, why don't you come inside for a bit? I know Lizzie's always trying to get rid of Cove. I thought they had a little bit of a peace offering during the library moment. Lizzie crossed her arms and lifted her chin. Cove shrugged and Mob stood from the table too. I'll give your dad a call to let him know you got here all right. Cove shuffled fully inside, eyes remaining on the ground. Mommy closed the door behind him. Hi, Cove. Oh, Shiloh finally got over his anger with Cove, I guess. His rivalmance might actually still be a thing later on. Shiloh gave Cove a friendly smile while waving by holding up his hand and opening and closing his fingers. Cove nodded in response. Cove, are you going to catch fireflies with us? You should come outside with us if you want to. You weren't sure what to say now. Cove, are you going to catch fireflies with us? You could see Lizzie eyeing you for mentioning the excursion to an outsider, but she'd get over it. Remember, she loves me. You love me, sis, so I can invite Cove if I want. You hoped Cove would say yes. That way you wouldn't be the odd one out with Lizzie and Shiloh anymore.
Yeah.
I can do that. I've never caught one before. It's too bad he didn't have a chance before now. The fireflies weren't out when he first moved in, and there must not have been any where he used to live. We can't go until after dinner. After she pointed this out, Lizzie walked back to the table and took her seat. There wasn't much left on her plate. Since this was very true, you decided to finish up your own stuff as well. Cove stepped closer and eyed what was on the menu for your family's meal. Have you eaten yet? Yeah, my dad and I ate earlier. What did you have? Eggs. The clipped one-word answer seemed to discourage Shiloh from asking it for more questions. His eyes slowly wandered back to the last scraps of food on his plate. Her phone call with Cove's dad must have ended because your mom came back into the room.
Okay.
Cove, your dad said you can stay a little while if you'd like, but he's going to come get you before it gets too much later. Sure. I love how they use a lot of care to make this really believable that, yeah, your dad would totally at his age come and pick him up. So I'm glad they're establishing that.
Fun.
Oh, fun. This will be so nice. As you polished off the meal, you hoped it would be too. The three of you all finished eating shortly after, and Lizzie led the way outside. There's 4 of us. The 3 of us, there's 4 of us. Remember, don't stray too far. It's fine, Mom. Shiloh trailed so closely after Lizzie he was nearly stepping on her heels. Cove hesitated at the door. Coming? After a moment, he did.
Bye.
Bye, children. The 2 of you were a good 10 or 15 feet behind Lizzie and Shiloh by the time you walked outside. You pushed the door shut behind you, watching their figures get farther and farther away.
Hurry up!
You're so slow, Vaughn. You don't have all night. You started to run when you heard Lizzie's voice calling you, but paused when you saw Cove still walking at a relaxed pace. Are you not gonna come? You tugged him along. You walked with him. You waved at him to hurry. You ran off. I'm gonna walk with him. That's fine. We don't have to get there super quickly. They can start without us. You walked with him. You fell behind, sidling up next to him and watching and matching his stride. He noticed right away.
It's okay.
You can go ahead if you want. You smile and shake your head. I don't. Ooh, after a short while, the 2 of you reached the hill behind the house. The fireflies are out in full force, floating on the breeze. Their gentle glow winking in and out and creating an almost magical effect. That is really beautiful. Lizzie had already climbed to the top. Shiloh was spinning in circles somewhere around the middle.
Wow.
Shiloh took a moment to come over and welcome the both of you to the hill. Hi guys, it's really great out, huh? See how many there are. Yeah. A firefly danced through the air, landing on Cove's sea green head. Shiloh couldn't help but giggle. You and Shiloh couldn't help but giggle. You quietly looked on. You shooed the bug away. I'm gonna say you and Shiloh couldn't help but giggle. Covering your mouth with a hand, the sound escaped you, and Cove looked at you in confusion. What? Oh, look, Lizzie has one. That's amazing. Shiloh ran to the highest point of the hill, making sure not to lose his hat or backpack along the way. You hummed as the group divided and conquered, shifting your gaze to the dozens of other fireflies sailing around. The game was on. Spotting one close by, you approach it with assassin-like stealth, crouching down to make yourself seem like less of a threat. Slowly dragging one foot in front of the other, you crept up towards it, arms outstretched. You closed your hands around the little glowing orb, careful not to crush it. The firefly landed on your palm, almost docile, and you stared down at your prize in delight. Its tiny legs tickled your skin, and you giggled at the sensation. Cove kept up with his own target, but when he tried to grab it, his pink cast waved awkwardly through the air. So a little bit of a typo there, foiling his efforts to clap his hands around the firefly. Ah! Cove watched it vanish into the air with a dissatisfied expression on his face. You encouraged him to try again. You told him about the firefly you had. You made a joke about what happened. You did your own things. No, encourage him to try again. You'll get the next one. Did you catch one? You nodded, and Cove gave up his hunt for the moment, coming closer and peering at the insect still crawling across your palm. You held out your hand, and he leaned closer, eyes widening a tad behind his glasses. Cove remained hypnotized by the little bug as he inched his hand closer to yours. Ultimately, he settled his fingers slightly over top of the ones you were holding up. It tingled. You stayed very still. You pulled your hand back. You stayed very still. The last thing you wanted was to accidentally scare the shiny treasure off. Aww. The firefly, noticing the new connection, crawled up onto Cove's hand. He quietly gasped. It worked! Yeah, you got one! Cove's lips turned up into a slow smile, and his eyes shined brighter than the bug. Thanks, Vaughn. With a laugh, he gave the palm of your hand a friendly smack, performing an awkward low five. Startled by the extreme movement, the tiny lights disappeared before you could even blink. Your firefly was gone.
Sorry.
Oops, sorry. You scolded him, you forgave him, you teared up. No, I forgave him. That's okay, I couldn't keep it forever.
You're right.
Right, bugs have to stay outside. Let's get another. You decide to collect more. You decide to sit in the grass and watch. Nah, I think I would... Yeah, I would collect more. Yeah, let's go collect more. Uh-huh, we can work together.